Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Happy Monday, Managing Dental Drama community. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day weekend. I am pumped to get into our topic today, but I just want to give a few quick reminders before I do so. Number one, we have fantastic February content. If you're not a subscriber, you need to go and do so. We've even created little quick tips for our subscribers so that if you're short on time this month and you just need a quick 5-10 minutes of practice tips, we've actually condensed it down and you get both the full version and the condensed version. It's just really good stuff. So go check it out today. Also, in light of what we're going to talk about, we've got some great things on our hub, which will also be listed in the show notes. Particularly, I want to point you into the direction of a morning huddle template, which can be found on the hub. It actually gives you lots of quick tips for a great morning huddle. Okay, switching gears here, I want to talk about the Olympics. I am such a fan of the Olympics. My family knows that once it comes around to Olympics, it doesn't matter, summer or winter, I am all in, and the only thing that's going to be playing on our TV is Olympics. I love it. It's just, to me, to see these athletes achieve such amazing feats, just physically, emotionally. You see people that retired and then came back and powered through so much adversity to get there. I just am so in awe of the people that do this every year or every couple years. And so I wanted to actually use some of the things that's been inspiring me as I've watched the Olympics over this past week or so, because I think so much of it is applicable for us as professionals. So I'll go through 3 main tips. We'll keep it short and sweet today. And my hope would be, if you haven't watched any of the Olympics yet, like, what are you doing? But also, hopefully, after listening to these tips today, you'll go and watch some of these events and really understand what I'm talking about. So first of all, I am always amazed at how dedicated these athletes are. They are what I would call true professionals, dedicated to their craft, spending their entire livelihood on this sport. And you can tell the great ones from the good ones. I wouldn't say there's any bad ones in the Olympics. There's just really, really great ones, and then there's good ones. And you can tell the difference in those athletes. And, you know, I've studied these athletes through the years just to kind of figure out, how do they get to be so good? And of course, some of it's just natural talent, just God-given gifts that they're born with. But the really, really great ones have this eat, breathe, and sleep mentality towards their craft, towards their sport. So they may spend hours and hours and hours training today, sometimes upwards of 8 to 10 hours a day in training. But they also have a lifestyle that supports their craft. So they have certain sleep, they have a certain diet, they have a certain amount of days a week off. Sometimes that is boiled down to one off day, one rest day, and then they're back at it again. So it's not just, hey, I'm naturally a great snowboarder, but they are dedicated to perfecting their craft by dedicating their whole life to it. They eat, breathe, and sleep this sport in order to be at the top of their game. And to me, that's humbling to think about, because as much as I am a super fan of the Olympics, I realize that in the grand scheme of things, Olympics or sports ultimately are fun and fantastic to watch and just I'm so glad that they're a part of our life, but they're not truly crucial to living like we might think of a health provider or a cardiologist or a brain surgeon. These things that are just so, these people that are so pivotal to life. And so we think about an athlete and the amount of dedication and time and energy that they put into their profession. And I wonder how many of us, whether it's you dentists, you business team members, you hygienists, you assistants, consultants, whoever you are, I wonder, do we live and breathe our profession like these elite athletes do? And if not, it begs the question, why? Why do we not live it, breathe it, sleep it, eat it? Why is this not something that just compels us? Because in the dental field, we may not be doing brain surgery or heart surgery, but we are certainly a critical part of somebody being systemically healthy, but also functionally healthy. The ability to eat and chew food and nourish their bodies is critical. The ability to prevent disease from being rampant in the body because we're protecting those gums. These are important things. And I know we often minimize it compared to the neurosurgeon or the cardiologist, but dentistry is important. And whether we're the one working on the teeth, whether we're the one supporting the working on the teeth, or whether we're picking up the phone and getting those patients on the schedule, it's all critical to patient care. And if we really want to call ourselves professionals, then I think we need to take some inspiration from these Olympians and go, hey, if they're willing to put their entire life into this sport that is a sport, it is not life or death. And a lot of it's for entertainment, right? They want to be at the top of the game to prove it to themselves, to win competitions, to go to the Olympics. But at the end of the day, I'm sitting on my couch watching them and I'm entertained by them. We have a chance to truly impact somebody beyond entertainment, impact their health, impact their livelihood by being the best possible professional that we can ultimately be. And I just want to call us all to step up and to live like these Olympians do, to eat our profession, to breathe our profession, to constantly be perfecting our skills with it, whether that's reading about procedures or best practices in a dental office, whether that's attending seminars, whether that's trying new skills within our own scope to go, hey, what if I did it this way or that way? Would it be better? Would it be faster? Would it be more comfortable for the patient? So we've really got to step up our game and bring this level of eliteness to our profession of dentistry. So that's inspiration number one, is are we eating, breathing, sleeping, living our profession? Here is inspiration number two. I find it mesmerizing to watch these athletes and to know that many of them have been winning competitions prior to the Olympics. And in those competitions, they are competing most often with the world. It's not just their little local chapter where they were a fantastic bobsled team and they beat out one other team. They have competed on a world level with people from all over the world. And I am just amazed by that. When we think about these Olympians that have previously competed against these other Olympians, and then they have worked their way into being nominated and selected to represent their country, it means that they've already compared themselves against other people in their field, other elite athletes in their field. They've most likely competed against these people, and they have still won a spot to represent their country. mind-blowing to me. And then I equate that to dentistry and I go, wow. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting with a client that we are directly engaging about who is our competition. Who should we be comparing ourselves with? If they didn't come to us, who else in town is the other orthodontist, the other periodontist, the other general dentist that people would be going to? And we take a look at that other direct competitor and we go, okay, how are we better than them? How are we worse than them? What do we need to do differently? We have such a microscopic scale of how we compare ourselves. And to me, watching these Olympics has inspired me once again to go, oh my word, we have to broaden that perspective. We have to look beyond our town or our little suburb of a big city, or heck, even comparing ourselves to the big city. We need to span way out and go, how do I hold up against people across my country, against people across the world? What are they doing that I can learn from? Because I need to sharpen my skills so that I don't just stand out in my small community. I stand out in my county. I stand out in my state. I stand out in my country. And I know that sounds lofty, and some of you may even be like, but why? The but why is because we want to be our best. No, we may not be running and going to the world dentist competition, but we are a professional and we should push ourselves like those athletes do. And part of the way that they push themselves is they're going for their own personal best time, but they also know what they have to do to beat the competition. And so my question is, do you know what you have to do to beat the competition? How do you compare to other practices, not just in your city or in your county, but in your state and in your country? How do you stack up? And what can you do to push yourself and push your team to be the top of your game, the best in the world at whatever your specialty is? So that's inspiration number 2. Compare yourself against the world. And how do you rate? And what do you need to do to be better? Third inspiration from the Olympics that I've just really enjoyed watching, especially if you go and look at any of the half pipe videos, which I would absolutely encourage you to go do. It's phenomenal to watch these athletes. But I could really see this ritual that these snowboarders would do before this competition. They get all this, pats on the back, fist bumps, hugs from their coaches up at the starting gate. And then they kind of slide down the hill, kind of wedge themselves into the snow, and they sit there. Sometimes it's for 10 seconds, sometimes it's for a minute. But they sit here and all of them are looking down at that half pipe and they're going, how am I going to slaughter this thing? How am I going to just do a phenomenal job? But their rituals are all very unique. I watched one young lady that sat on that hill for a longer time than usual because, again, clock's kind of running. People are waiting for you to go at this point. And she's sitting there and she is saying all kinds of stuff to herself and pepping herself up and talking to herself. And that was her pre-game warm-up, so to speak. I watched one young man, a 17-year-old, I can't remember what country he was from, but it may have been a USA guy now that I think about it. And he sat on that hill and he would find his rosary beads around his neck and would kiss the cross and pray, and then he would reach over and grab his snowboard and run his fingers across the front of that snowboard. My thought was he was probably praying over his snowboard, and that was his ritual. I watched one of the Australian competitors in that same competition, and he was really fun to watch because he approached that little pause a lot more lightly and fluidly, and he would almost smile through the whole thing. And then you could tell he was about to take off because his smile would get really big. And that was his ritual. And so these rituals prepared them for what they were about to do, this massive undertaking that they were embarking on. They had this way of pepping themselves up and getting themselves prepared. And I think what it did for them is, first of all, it did help them, right? They had this moment of pause before they did their big activity. It centered them, so to speak. But I also think that it gave them confidence. There's a soothing nature to rituals. If anybody has practiced rituals in their lives, you'll realize it's a very grounding thing. It makes you feel safe and secure and confident. And I think it propels these riders in the Olympics into this confidence that they might not have without that ritual. And so I thought about this for the dental practice, and I thought, wow, there's so many things that we could talk about here, but I'm going to home in on what I think is such an important ritual, which is either a morning huddle or an afternoon huddle. Some practice that you've put into place, a ritual where you come together as a team, either in the morning before patient care or at the end of the day right after patient care, and you have these topics that you consistently talk about. Maybe that's practice numbers, that you're coming together and go, hey, this was our production yesterday. This is what we're gearing up for today. Let's go get it. Let's get after it. It could be production. It could be patient care specific, in that we go through each of our patients and talk about their specific needs or what they're scheduled for. It could be that we're spanning into talking about the family members of the patients that are coming in on our schedule today. But the point is, we have this security in this meeting, this little huddle. Could be 2 minutes, could be 10 minutes, probably not longer than that. But it's this ritual, this habit that we've formed of getting together and either preparing for the day in a morning huddle, or we're reflecting on the day for an afternoon huddle. And these rituals are something that guide us, something that give us confidence and security. They get us hyped up for the day. We feel ready coming out of the gate or coming out of that morning huddle. We are hopefully charging into that first set of patients feeling really confident about what all we've discussed. These rituals are important, and morning huddle is just one of those. And again, if you don't know how to do a morning huddle, go look at the hub. We've got you a whole bundle of options to look at. But I think we've got to habitualize something like a morning huddle or an afternoon huddle, and we've got to stick with it consistently. But not just stick with it, we've got to stick with what we talk about on a consistent basis, that we all show up to that meeting ready, not just to slough it off and end the day and go home, but to truly reflect on how the day went, or to come in prepared for that morning huddle, so that we've looked ahead of time at the patients and the procedures and the previous meeting notes, and we know what we need from those patients today. So I would highly encourage us to adopt this habit that we see so prominently in our elite athletes at the Olympics right now. They've taught us or reminded us that those rituals are important. So I do hope you'll take a little bit of inspiration from our Olympians. As a reminder, I want you to eat, breathe, live out dentistry. Be so committed to your craft that we could call you an elite professional in the realm of dentistry. Also, I want to make sure that you guys are committing to these habits, that you're committed to the morning or the afternoon huddle, and you do it habitually. And then, of course, to really be elite, you've got to compare yourself with the world. And the world is a big stage. So who out there is doing better than you? And what can you do to up your game and really become even more perfected than you currently are? So go watch the Olympics. You won't be disappointed. It's so fun. And go be an Olympian in your practice.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone. but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.